Well, this is a sight to see. The next two characters that are going to be releasing just before the first year anniversary. Gotoruji, that is going to be releasing in March, in like 2 weeks time, I think. Yeah, not that far off, boys. And then the amount of action is going to be in the question. And then Xirin, yeah, Xirin, hopefully I said that right. Yeah, she is going to be the pre-anniversary character, as I like to say, or the character for April, which is, you know, the month off the first year anniversary, basically, because May is going to be the first year anniversary. But anywho, with all of that, the typing in question as it stands to what is going to be catered to next, because with where the current typing is at right now, it is completely done with the fire element, right? We had our weapons. I mean, the Phoenix Soulbow is still doing wonders. We just kind of needed that support role, and we've got that fan, which is doing wonders for that fire element buff in terms of with the additional plays that it has. For Sun Jungwoo, of course, he has his ruins for that, so we're good on that part. And then in terms of with where the fire element team is at right now, I mean, well, there's nothing more to say other than the fact that it is holding the #1 DPS character in the goddamn game. Of course, Kane came in and she took the game by storm. And that's one of the key things which that I kind of caught on, because first things first, hopefully there's some gameplay being pushed out right now so you guys can see on how broken this character is in terms of the majority of the modes. I'm sure we're all capitalizing and utilizing kind of here because of how much of a demon she is, holding the #1 spot in terms of DPS, of course. And the prior character before that was her student, Amamiya, right? In the game itself, we classed her as the #1 DPS, because rightfully so, she was. In comes the teacher. Now there's a bit of a student-teacher going on here, where at the very beginning, the student was #1 DPS, then it came over to the teacher, then being, by taking that title. I mean, technically Thomas took that title, but in terms of just keeping it between the student and the teachers, of course, you know, came back to Kaneheo, of course, and so we're now going to be going over to the next character in terms of the student-teacher timeline, aka the final teacher, the teacher where it will start all, aka Gotoruji, of course. Now, saying all of that, and you know, being somewhat excited to see where they're going to take this, seeing how Amamiya turned out, seeing how Kane turned out, what on God's green earth are we, you know, is Gotoruji going to be capable of? How are they going to be doing this, man? Of course. Now, with all of that, like I said, fire typing is completely done, meaning starting from the next update, Gotoruji that is, a new typing will be catered to. What is that typing? As we last heard it leading it up to Kane's release, Gotoruji was looking to be a wind element typing. They considered to make him a tank. I don't know if that's something that they're going to commit to. It could very well be the case by committing him to be a tank user, just so it kind of falls in line to have wind element kind of sorted in a way. No, sorted, yeah. Before the first year anniversary, because the first year anniversary, it could go one of two ways. Is what I'm predicting. If the wind element is going to be in the same situation with where the fire element is at, and it being a complete revamped in terms of where the power scaling is at right now, of course. Now, I'm gonna just say I would much rather water or dark element to get some loving. I feel like water element really needs a V2 revamp, but when the time comes, the time comes. Who knows? It could be the first year anniversary where water element will get that real big damage boost sooner. Not to say that at least it's not holding up her own, but you know, get a little bit of an update with how other elements are kind of looking, of course. Now, coming back to the wind element, of course, Gotoruji being potential wind element and a tank version of that. That then leads into the April character here, and of course, she could very well also make up for being the wind support. Because technically, I mean, let's be real, Amamiya, she is still kicking ass. She is still an amazing DPS character, one of the most recommended hunters to choose from in terms of obviously newcomers, new starters coming along. Pick up Amamiya. She's obviously the fan favorite in terms of her DPS potential. It still holds, it's still up there of being one of the best, of course, top 3 easy. But yeah, being previous #1, obviously Kane coming in, taking the #1 spot, she still holds so much value for how crazy and how cracked of a unit that she is. And so still having that major DPS power for the wind element, it makes sense for them to bring in Gotoruji in a tank form for the wind element. Because I feel like with the tank side of things, don't get me wrong, Jincho is still doing decently well, but with where the current tank units are at, and with how much of a vital role and more of an open role that they play with their current element, I think a bit of a revamp is required. So that's why Gotoruji filling that tank role is quite nice. And Hansemi, don't get me wrong, she's also a decently well support type unit, but I think there could be more on offer, especially with the current support units that we've had. Definitely more on offer on furthermore pushing for Gotoruji, who I still feel like it's going to be producing some decent DPS damage, but furthermore pushing for Amamiya to be more cracked than she already is. And so that's why I say that potentially we might get the full-on package for the wind element to be completed for pre-anniversary at the very latest. And then from that, weaponry-wise, because with where wind element again is at with weapon, DPS power is disgustingly OP for wind element weapon for Sun Jin-woo. So if we can furthermore cater to in the basis of getting a support weapon, just like how it's happened with fire element, with how it's happened with the light element, of course, like with the staff, the free-to-play weapon that is, of course, and then of course recently with the fan for the fire element. If we can get something like that on the long side for the wind element, then I think again that is a full-on complete package for the wind typing, because I think that's kind of like the only thing that we kind of need for wind weapon wise, because we've got so much DPS power. If we can get something along the lines of like a plum version of like for a wind element weapon, yeah, we could be I think for Sun Jin-woo, I think that's kind of done, completely done. And again, keeping with the tank and the support role buff needed for the wind element, Amamiya staying as the main DPS, I think that is also just clearing or ticking all the boxes, should I say, for the wind element itself. So I don't think Gotoruji will be taking the spot in terms of how it's kind of transferred over to Amamiya and then kind of here, of course. I don't think it's going to... If it goes to Gotoruji and he's a tank unit producing that amount of DPS, outbeating Kanahe, I will be genuinely shocked. I will be genuinely shocked. I don't think he'll be taking the #1 spot in that DPS role. Maybe the #1 spot in the tank role, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But that's one thing that's really... I mean, because if they choose not to give him that tank role, because again, it's not completely finalized. We only know about the tank role prior the lead up to kind of his release. If they want to make him as an attacker, then there might be there might be that fight for the #1 spot. Who knows? If they choose to make him go down that DPS route, that is when we can really question on will it transfer over in terms of being the #1 DP. I mean, that will low-key kind of be cooked, because like, you know, we've seen the potential of kind of here. A lot of people were kind of like, oh, do I go for her? Do I not go for her? Turns out she's an absolute monster and that she's the #1 DPS character in the game. So now everyone's like, damn, we're gonna have to go for her. And it being so close to the anniversary, I know the developers are going to be pulling out all the stops, kind of draining everyone's essence and whatnot. So, you know, fair play to the developers on that part. But it will truly come down to Gotoruji and how they manage to do him. Because if I'm being completely honest, I don't know how big of a impact Siren will actually make in the game, because I'm double down to say that I genuinely think she will be the newest wind support, unless they pull an Ilo on us, because we know how great of a support character she is. Like, again, the best support in the game right now. So I don't know if they can pull one of those on us before the anniversary drops, but yeah, that's kind of like the situation that's on hand right now in terms of the lineup. So as we last knew, wind element will be catered to student teacher. The #1 DPS title has been bouncing off one another. Who knows? Maybe Gotoruji will be an attacker, and maybe he'll take the... There's no way they'll do that to us. Surely not. Surely the developers won't do that to us, right? We're not going to get scammed, are we?